Opportunity on speaking such a wonderful and very important and watershed bill for this year 2025. Dear sir, I rise today on behalf of my party and our honorable leader, Honorable Chief Minister Sri Nara Chandrababu Naidu ji, to express the support for the sustainable harnessing and advancement of nuclear energy for transforming India, in short, Shanti Bill 2025. The very name, sir, of this bill reflects our nation's resolve to harness nuclear energy responsibly and strategically for national development and long-term sustainability in line with the aim of an Atmanirbhar Vikasit Bharat by 2047. Honorable Speaker, sir, our country's journey in atomic energy is deeply rooted in scientific temperament and national foresight. Dr. Homi J. Bhabha, the architect of India's nuclear program, viewed atomic energy as a driver of development and self-reliance. His vision was complemented by the defense developments under Sri Babu Jagjivan Ramji, whose political resolve as defense minister showcased India's nuclear capabilities on the international stage with Smiling Buddha in 1974, thereby aligning scientific advancement with national security and sovereignty. Honorable Chairperson, sir, Dr. Homi J. Bhabha ji has envisioned Atmanirbhar Bharat on 3 stages. We started by talking about uranium, and from uranium after 2 stages to thorium, because I want the House to understand India has 25% of the global reserves of thorium in our country. Had it not been for the NDA government and the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji, we couldn't have come to the 3rd stage. We paused for several years, nearly 50 years in between. We didn't go forward. So now we have come after the 2nd stage, from 2015 amendments which sped up development in nuclear energy to the historic entry into phase 2 of India's nuclear plan in 2024, wherein our Prime Minister witnessed the commencement of core loading in your own stage in India's first indigenous fast breeder reactor at Kalpakam. I will come to you, sir. I will come to you. Please recollect the core loading in which happened in your own stage in the India's first indigenous fast breeder reactor at Kalpakam in Tamil Nadu. Is it a fact? Honorable Chairperson, sir, globally speaking, where are we? Countries like United States of America, France, Slovakia, European Union countries, and Japan generate and consume a substantial share of their electricity from nuclear power, exceeding 50% of total electricity generation. Whereas in India, we are only at 3%. We have a long way to go. We should develop an ecosystem. We are on that path. We are on the way thanks to the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji. And this bill facilitates greater investment, innovation, and efficiency while maintaining sovereign control. I repeat, this bill facilitates greater investment, innovation, and efficiency while maintaining sovereign control. It enhances India's ability to attract long-term foreign investment in nuclear infrastructure, reactor components, and allied technologies. This roadmap will help us to scale up to 100 gigawatts by 2047. And again, I want the House to recall, today we are only at 8 gigawatts as compared to 98.7 gigawatts of America already. Now, there was a question raised, my friend has gone out, Mr. Manish Tiwari ji, about the foreign investment or the private sector role, and also about the accountability with respect to the supplier versus operator. Let me explain to you, to the House and to the people of my country, my people in my constituency, through you, sir. If you look at the in America, the private sector companies, Constellation Energy, their nuclear capacity is 10.7 gigawatts in the private sector. Duke Energy, 10.7 gigawatts, whereas my country today is still at 8 gigawatts. Vistra Corporation, 6.4 gigawatts in USA. Tennessee Valley Authority, 8.3 gigawatts. Extra energy is 6.2 gigawatts. I can go on. I have a very long list of private sector, and this is the role that private sector companies, while following the security protocols in America, are producing. Each company is producing as much as my entire country is producing. Sir, should not my country grow? Should not my country produce more? And we are on that path. We should do that. And, sir, when we are marching ahead, there are several people who will comment, but we should not look at them. We should march ahead. Sir, Honorable Chairperson, sir, nuclear energy offers 3 decisive advantages to us. First, it provides reliable base load power for more than 60 years. Second, it contributes significantly to carbon reduction. Third, a robust nuclear ecosystem catalyzes high-end manufacturing, research, and skilled employment. I would like to emphasize on this word, skilled employment. I'll come to it again, sir. Honorable Chairperson, sir, I wholeheartedly welcome and support the emphasis this bill places on research, development, and innovation, especially in regards to using nuclear energy for research into next-generation technologies focused on healthcare and agriculture. Clause 9 of the bill promotes research, development, design, and innovation in matters related to nuclear energy and radiation for peaceful purposes, while Clause 38 allows for patents in for the same. This is in line with the government support for more than 15,000 crores for research, development, and innovation, further spurring the growth of scientific temper and research in our country. Finally, sir, with respect to the liability and accountability, my observation is all of us are here can recall the then Congress government of the 1980s, under incompetence in handling the Bhopal gas disaster, the world's worst industrial disaster, which led to generations of thousands of families suffering while those responsible for the disaster were allowed to fly out of the country. Exactly from this point of view, today we are now talking about this great bill where the entire onus is on the operator. No operator can run away from this country, and that is, he has to literally take care of all this. So therefore, right from the day one, from the day of supplies itself, the operator will have to be very, very careful, not only from installation of the plant, but also to the operation and the process of the entire process of generating power. Finally, sir, my final suggestion is, I would like to make a request to you, sir, through the Honorable Minister and to the government. We should also consider launching skill development initiatives and infrastructure to train our youth and give them the proper tools to benefit from us opening our doors of nuclear energy to the international markets. Sir, you may recall when the IT bubble came into our country in 1990s, because we have trained our youth much in advance. We're also now talking about cloud. Because we are training our youth much in advance, not only we are taking care of the requirements in our country, but we are also sending our youth all over the world, all over the globe to take care of this industry, sir. So therefore, my request is while BARC and NPCIL operate training schools, fellowships, and retraining schemes for engineers, scientists, and technicians, we must boost their efforts by upgrading and expanding the existing skill development programs of public infrastructure. Our youth should be trained to contribute globally in this industry also. In this spirit, sir, I would like to propose establishing a center of excellence in nuclear energy research and skilling in my home state, Andhra Pradesh, and new training programs and skill centers across our country especially in my constituency, Bapatla, sir. Finally, in conclusion, sir, Dr. J. Babaji once famously said, "I believe in excellence. It is not enough to be good. We must be the best. Our youth should be the best." Inspired by this spirit and encouraged by our NDA government's strong track record under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji over the last decade, I stand in support of this bill and our vision for Atmanirbhar Vikasit Bharat and Swarnandhra Pradesh. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Mananiya Sadasya Srimati Supriya Sule ji.
Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to speak on the sustainable harnessing and advancement of nuclear energy of transforming India bill, sir. Sir, I would like to quote Dr. Homi Bhabha ji. No power is costlier than no power. So I appreciate the efforts of the Honorable Minister to bring in this bill today, because I think we all need to evolve with time, change with time. Policies have to change with time. But I'm not sure whether the approach of this bill is what we expected from this government. Well, like my learned friend Manish Tiwari ji said, I would like today, when we are talking about nuclear energy, the forefathers who have really contributed in the last 7-8 decades of India's growth story, starting from Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru ji, who actually sowed the seed of this new India that we all live in today. Dr. Homi Bhabha, Vikram Sarabhai, Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, and I wish my learned friend Krishna Teni ji, in his speech, he talked about the thorium changes that he wants. Yes, this government has contributed, but there are thousands and thousands of scientists, and I would like to put it on record, it was Dr. Anil Kakodkar who actually thought of moving from uranium to thorium. He is one of the tallest leaders as a scientist in India who has first thought of this idea, and now the government is taking it forward. I appreciate the efforts, but I think we must put it on record that yes, the government does it, but the real man behind this entire technology change is Dr. Anil Kakodkar. Sir, and now something else that India should be very proud of, and I'd like to put it on record, that recently in October, Professor Sunil Gupta was elected the President of International Union of Pure and Applied Physics during the 33rd Assembly held in China for a 3-year term, where this was the only job in the last 70 years which Homi Bhabha, Dr. Homi Bhabha got it, and this is the first time that we should all be proud that Professor Sunil Gupta, a proud Indian today, leads the global change in this nuclear power. So it's something very big for India, I think. In the Atomic Energy Act 1962 and the Civil Liability Nuclear Damage Act 2020, the amendment that has been proposed by this government. So I want to ask 2 questions to the Honorable Minister, since he's here, and my learned friend Shashank ji is also here, who is very, very good technically. I would like to seek 2 clarifications from him about this bill. In his speech, he said that he doesn't want monopolies. So I like that thought, that there should be no monopoly. But I would with full humility say, who is this monopoly you're talking about? It's the nuclear power, the NPCLI, which is the Nuclear Power Corporation of India, who had a monopoly, which is one of our PSUs, which has always been in profit. You want Indigo to have a monopoly and hold this country for ransom, but for a PSU like Nuclear Corporation of India, there is no sympathy in this government. The government must clarify when your lead speaker says that, oh, we don't want monopolies. So when it's private, I'm not against privatization at all. Let me put it on the record. We are a very modern party. Mr. Pawar has always talked about liberalization. So let me put it on record. But please do not hold up PSUs who have built this nation and say they are monopolies. They are not the monopolies. It's the oligarchs who are the monopolies, not the government of India in the last 70 years who's been a monopoly. Another thing that he mentioned, which is very important, we need to put it on record, since you want private players to invest in this company, it's very important to clarify. He said R&D will remain with government. Will R&D only remain with government? That needs to be clarified, because it came from the Treasury bench that R&D will remain. So I seek a clarification from the Honorable Minister that it's very important that when a Treasury bench says that it will remain, it's very, very alarming to hear that. The other few issues which need to know that NPCIL, the Nuclear Power Corporation of India, has done outstanding work in this country. They started the fleet mode. We've had amazing reactors that this government has built over the last 7 decades. So every government has contributed to this growth story of nuclear power. But I would like to ask, what is the future that the government plans? Because Dr. Kakodkar proposed uranium to thorium. Mr. From Chandrababuji's party, he was talking about uranium to thorium. I appreciate what you said, sir. But what is the plan this government has specifically made? Because this whole fuel price, why are we looking for this energy mix to bring the cost down? Now, we have a lot of thorium in this country. And one biggest asset that the thorium has is it is proliferation resistant. So if it is resistant, then are we going to promote it is a clarification, because all the people who you want to invest, we need to know, because he was talking about only American corporations when he was taking names. I mean, I'm a little worried after hearing that. I'm not against any country. Anybody who invests for the growth of India, we must, with changing times, the world has become flat, sir. So I would like to say that all those American corporations' names were quoted. So I'm little scared and worried that Professor Roy said maybe Indians are going to benefit. But after hearing an ally speech, was only Americans benefited. I don't mind as long as Indians are benefited, but I hope India benefits. We don't mind foreign companies benefiting, but we must be very clear about that. So another case is, I would like to highlight, sir, 2-3 very small points. I would like to clarify, because Jaitapur is in my, you spoke about Tamil Nadu, the growth in, we should compliment the Tamil Nadu government for all the work they have done in nuclear with the government of India. But Jaitapur is a project which came in my state, sir. Jaitapur is a project which, Jaitapur nuclear power project, which still, you have also been in power, we've started it. But in the last 11 years, somehow this government has not been able to take it forward. So looking at growth story, what about Jaitapur and how are you going to do it? So talking about Opel, I would like to give one small point, since I will just make two very short, I won't repeat any other points. Sir, when you talked about the right to recourse, about suppliers' accountability, I would like to say the supplier liability. I'm not, the supplier is as guilty if there is a crisis. It cannot be a supplier immunity. And I would like to quote Sushma ji and Arun ji. With great respect, I would like to quote Arun ji's statement. Well, he had also said the same thing, so I want to remind this government about what Sushma ji and Arun ji said. It was in 2010. He was the LOP in Rajya Sabha, and Arun ji had said that in the Supplier Immunity Act, he fought to remove the word and to ensure suppliers cannot escape the law. Okay. My point is the supplier has to be liable. So it is supplier liability. There cannot be supplier immunity. So much material goes into this. So please don't do it for us, but at least do it for what this party stands for, because their tallest leaders have been Sushma ji and Arun ji, who have actually brought it to power. So please don't pack that. One last two small points are this capping of financial liability of operators. How can you put a cap of 3,000? It is 3,000 crores, sir. It's a request to you, because I don't want anything to happen, but if anything happens, how will you cap it at 3,000 crores? I think that's how will you calculate it at 3,000 crores? How have you come to this magic number is my question to the Honorable Minister. Talking about the autonomy of the regulator has to be very, very strong. You are bringing in safety measures. And
please,
I will talk about two very small points which nobody else has made, sir. Just very small. Now, decommissioning liability. These are very two small points nobody else has said, sir. Decommissioning of liabilities. I hope every investor comes and does well in this country. But if we ever have to decommission a plant, sir, what is the safety that you have put into this bill? Because if a private player comes, when NPCIL does decommissioning, they do an extraordinarily good job. What is the guarantee that a private player will be as careful? Because the toxic cleanup is very, very critical. And sir, in RTI, last 30 seconds, sir, in RTI, concerns regarding transparency in the bill, clause 39, does not allow RTI questions in this bill partially. I understand. If it is of national security, please don't reply to us. But if there are private players, where is the question of national security? So this RTI points are, we have a right to information. You say that it's a transparent and open government.
Okay.
So what is there to hide in this government?
Okay,
आप जवाब दे सकते हैं ना, खोल के जवाब दीजिए, आपका छुपाने के लिए कुछ नहीं. So I request this government that whatever you are bringing in, please,
Okay.
I consider it's a very important bill. I understand it's in the interest of the larger interest of India. I recommend that please send it to the JPC.
Okay. Thank
Let's
you.
deliberate more, think about it, and bring
Maranaya
it a strong bill in a time-bound manner.
Arvind
Thank you.
Sawanji.
Thank you very much.
Arvind Sawanji.
That's okay.
Huh?
Thank you, Chairman, sir.
Oh, you're speaking in this.
The Sustainable Harnessing and Advancement of the Nuclear Energy and Transformation India Bill. I would like to express my views on it, particularly when you say that in the beginning itself, whereas India is having achieved self-reliant capability in production and use of nuclear energy, recognizes the potential it offers towards rapidly meeting the ever-increasing energy needs of the country to further research and development. The half portion is correct. But when we have achieved it, why we are in such a hurry to grant permissions to all private sectors who are here? Number of people must have spoken about it. I will just point it out, certain things which are to be taken into consideration, because the bill, the Shanti bill penalizes the operators in case of a nuclear accident and asking them to compensate on the basis of the size of the plant operated. It's really a surprising one. How can you relate the size of the operation with the damage?
Exactly.
There is really, we have experienced what has happened in Bhopal, Union Carbide, how they escaped from all those things. They could not be penalized till date. And really here also some provisions are there, which I'm going to point it out to you, sir. They particularly, I'll go directly because I know the time, you won't permit me a lot of time, but then I'll go to that. What is required and what is missing in here? Dilution of a liability and accountability. Removal of a supplier liability means what exactly? Victims may not be fully compensated. Faulty suppliers may escape responsibility. Risk is shifted from corporation to citizens of the state. Safety risk with private operators. Nuclear power is not an ordinary commercial activity. Profit-driven operators may compromise on safety unless oversight is extremely strong. Low compensation ceiling. Then the regularity independence question. Is the nuclear regulator truly independent from operators and the government? Without autonomy, safety enforcement may weaken. Public consent and federal concern. Sir, we are facing in Maharashtra, Jaitapur, you know it. The concern of the public, the consent of the public is opposing it, and still we are forcing them. And that is what we need is that the fisherman community is really having, they are having a fear about it. What is about the tomorrow? What is about the fate of their life? If the water which enters into the sea has a very high temperature, and then naturally the temperature of the water is going to increase. And if the temperature of the water increases, it is going to reflect on the production of the fish over there, and it is going to reflect on the earnings of the fishermen over there on the coastal line. And that is what a very serious issue, and that is the reason they was opposing it consistently, and therefore public areas should be given a nuclear waste is another issue, serious issue. Sir, it has observed, nowadays we are talking about even electrical vehicles. Nobody thinks about the battery. The battery is not perishable, sir. Who's going to do that? That battery is going to create a problem. We cannot perish the battery, and nobody is having a concern. When I was industry minister, I brought it to the notice of the people. Okay, for a pollution-free, we want that the battery-driven vehicles are required, but at the same time, who is going to do that? What is the waste of the battery? Nobody has thought it till date, sir. That is what is very concern over here, and therefore, how does the government ensure that the private operators have maintained the same safety culture as public sector units? The public sector, you see, we are doing a construction at Ward 1. Vadwan port. And the Tarapur reactors are very close to the Vadwan port. Have you ever thought of its safety? A drone can come from the Vadwan Bandar and watch the Tarapur entire reactors over there. So the radiation issue is going to be very serious in that case if the damage takes place, and the compensation of the damage should not be related to this. And finally, sir, two major points which I have come across, a rather surprising one. This is the point, sir. The clause 81 bill provides for exclusion of jurisdiction of civil courts. It provides that the civil court shall have a jurisdiction to entertain any suit or proceeding in respect of which the central government provides that no civil court shall have jurisdiction to enter any suit or proceeding in respect of which the central government, the board, the Nuclear Damage Claims Commission or Claims Commissioner is empowered to adjudicate under the bill. It further provides that no injunction shall be granted by any court or other authority in respect of any action taken or to be taken in pursuance of any power conferred by or under the bill. Oh my goodness, it is like the Commissioner of the Election Commission. He is being given freedom. He will not be questioned his authority. This is what you are providing here also. 81, 82 again. The bill provides for protection of action taken in good faith. What do you mean by good faith? Who is going to question that good faith? It's a good faith. I have taken action against the good faith. It provides that no suit, prosecution or other legal proceeding shall be against the central government or the board or the council or any person acting on behalf for anything which is in good faith done or intended to be done under the bill or the rules and regulation made thereunder. Both these provisions are very serious, sir. Absolutely. And I am really, that's the reason I think my colleague Supriya ji has also said that why not send the bill to the JPC? Now to demand that it needs an elaborate discussion in detail. Elaborate discussion is required, and therefore it should be sent to the, otherwise, see, I know that the privatization is very, very loving issue. Very, very concerned issue, because there are industrialists who are very close to, and you feel that once the freedom is given, they'll go on producing the electricity power for the country. This is not so. But the concern is, I have expressed my concern, and therefore I once again demand that the bill should be sent to the JPC. One can discuss this elaborately, and let us bring a unanimous bill for the country. Thank you so much, sir.
Very good.
Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Dr. Shashi Tharoor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We stand here today at a critical juncture in our nation's history. This Shanti Bill is before this House has the government speaking grandly of harnessing the immense energy released by splitting the atom. Yet it seems to have failed to expend even a fraction of that energy in drafting a bill that is coherent, rigorous, and not full of loopholes. This is full of loopholes. Where the late Pandit Nehruji had laid the foundations for our nuclear program, and Dr. Manmohan Singh ji carried the Indo-US nuclear deal of 2008 across the last mile and lifted India out of isolation into an era of strategic confidence in nuclear power, this bill now confronts us with a disappointing reversal, as a vision that once expanded horizons gives way to ambiguity, deepens uncertainty as to whether and where India's nuclear power framework is really headed. I have high regard for the Honourable Minister who's here today, but there are serious errors and omissions that other speakers have already pointed out. We have mastered nuclear fusion and fission, but not apparently legislative precision. The Shanti Bill is a milestone, Mr. Minister, but for the wrong reasons. It is written with exceptions, heavy on discretion, and largely indifferent to public welfare. I am not sure, Mr. Chairman, whether it is a nuclear bill or an unclear bill. Now, before I outline my concerns, I must candidly state that the bill in its current form contains such fundamental structural flaws, as colleagues have pointed out, that it requires comprehensive reworking rather than cosmetic amendments. Ideally, it should have been referred to a committee, a standing committee or a joint parliamentary committee for further consideration. But if we are going to discuss it today, sir, let me enumerate my critical concerns. The very preamble of the bill, which I have here, characterizes nuclear energy as a, quote, clean and abundant source for electricity and hydrogen production. No quarrel there, and I'm not against nuclear energy myself. But this language is dangerously misleading because it completely neglects the serious, massive, and irreversible risks from radioactive leaks, long-lived nuclear waste that remains hazardous for millennia, and, of course, the potential for catastrophic accidents. Moreover, India's usable uranium reserves are finite. While we do possess significant thorium-232, including in my own state of Kerala, and those are significant reserves, and we should work on them, nonetheless, thorium-based reactors remain decades away from significant deployment. The full life cycle of nuclear fuel, from mining to waste disposal, is neither clean nor sustainable. We must be honest with the people of India about what we are asking them to accept. Now, sir, Section 3(1)(c) and E provide that any other company or any person explicitly permitted by the central government is eligible to apply for a license to set up and run nuclear facilities. This effectively amounts to a blanket opening up of the entire nuclear energy sector, from mining to waste management, and this will open it up to a wide range of private actors with indeterminable and indeterminate qualifications. More troubling still, the bill allows for a single composite license for multiple activities across the nuclear fuel cycle. This means one entity could control mining, fuel fabrication, reactor operation, and waste handling. Such concentration of control in any single operator or corporate group heightens systemic risk exponentially rather than containing that risk. When profit becomes the primary motive across the entire chain, safety checks could be compromised at every stage. Such blanket opening up is potentially dangerous, and giving operational control of fissile and other highly radioactive substances to private entities driven by quarterly earnings reports and the bottom line of profit, I'm afraid significantly increases the possibility of nuclear incidents and accidents. The core of the liability reform caps total nuclear incident liability at 300 million special drawing rights, which is approximately today $460 million US, or 3,900 crores. Let this sink in, honorable members. This cap has not changed in 15 years, despite inflation, despite Fukushima, despite everything we've learned. For context, the Fukushima disaster cleanup costs have already exceeded $182 billion. Okay? That's several hundred times the cap proposed in this bill today in 2021. Chernobyl's total economic impact exceeded $700 billion. Yet we propose to cap liability at less than $500 million? This is grossly inadequate when measured against the potential long-term health, livelihood, and environmental costs of any serious accident. This is not a safety net, Mr. Minister. It is a trapdoor through which victims could fall into decades of legal battles and inadequate compensation. The bill also removes the earlier provisions where the operator had the right to recover compensation from equipment suppliers. This means that even if an accident occurs due to faulty design, substandard parts, or negligent manufacturing by a supplier, that supplier walks away while Indian taxpayers have to bear the entire cost. This might, in cases of serious accidents, strain our economy significantly. We are effectively subsidizing the risk for private international corporations while they retain all their profits. The state underwrites catastrophic risk, Mr. Chairman, while private operators maximize returns. What kind of law is this? Chapter 3, Section 14(1)(a) makes the central government liable where the liability exceeds the amount of liability of an operator. In effect, public funds, our money, taxpayers' money, will compensate for all the damages caused by private facilities. This provision does nothing but further dilute corporate accountability for systemic failures. And Section 42 overrides the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code for nuclear facilities. So nuclear workers are removed from our country's general labor safety framework. Is this fair, Mr. Minister? The bill imposes a 3-year period for filing compensation applications, with extension of the right to claim set for 10 years for property damage, 20 years for personal injury. Now, given the long latency periods of radiation-related diseases, cancers that can appear 20, 30 years after exposure, and intergenerational genetic impacts, these limitation periods are frankly shamefully restrictive. They will exclude many genuine victims who develop serious health impacts only after years of exposure. Children exposed to radiation who develop leukemia at the age of 25 will find they have no legal recourse. This is not justice, Mr. Chairman. This is a statute of limitations designed to limit liability, not to compensate victims. इस बिल के हर वादे के पीछे एक कीमत छुपी है, मिस्टर मिनिस्टर, और अक्सर ये कीमत वही चुकाता है जिसका फैसलों में कोई हिस्सा नहीं होता। पर उन वादों की कीमत तुम क्या जानो सरकार, यही मेरी चिंता है। Here perhaps is the most egregious provision of all. Negligence by an operator or person is recognized as a cognizable offense, but only a person duly authorized by the central government or the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board can file a complaint. Let me stress this, sir. This means that if a nuclear facility operator is criminally negligent, affected communities cannot file a complaint. Civil society organizations cannot file a complaint. Even state governments cannot directly initiate criminal proceedings against the operator. This effectively excludes those most affected from seeking justice and concentrates gatekeeping power with the very institutions that have failed in prior oversight. By limiting judicial recourse and routing both civil and criminal actions. No, sir, I'm barely halfway through.
You have taken 10 minutes.
No, sir, I have been given enough time. You give me 5 minutes more. And criminal actions through central authorities, the bill restricts victims' access to ordinary courts and their fundamental right to seek effective remedies. For an ultra-hazardous activity that can devastate entire regions, such procedural barriers perpetuate a culture of impunity. Then Chapter 4, sir, on the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, essentially retains a regulator controlled by the central government. The same government aggressively promoting nuclear expansion and its agencies, rather than creating a truly independent, multi-stakeholder authority that will be insulated from political and corporate influence. Sir, I can go ideally into clause-by-clause detail, but since you've already told me my time is running out, let me just sum up very simply. The entire regulatory arrangement is an inside job with little or no room for Indian civil society or even meaningful parliamentary oversight. Instead of clearing the fog around nuclear regulation, this arrangement thickens the fog. So Chapter 6, Section 44, grants perhaps the most dangerous power in the entire bill, as it highlights the excessive executive discretion and exemptions of this bill. It allows the central government to exempt any plant from the requirements of license or liability if, quote, the risk involved is insignificant, unquote. The term insignificant risk is not defined anywhere. It's left entirely to the executive. This provision essentially negates the entire framework of the bill, sir. It creates a backdoor through which any facility can escape oversight if the government deems it convenient.
Your point is
sir, give me 3 minutes. This kind of broad subjective exemption power undermines the very safeguards the legislation claims to establish. It will provide laxity in due diligence in a hugely critical sector. And private players will lobby for exemptions to engage in profiteering at the expense of public safety. We cannot justify this under any democratic framework. Multiple sections are granting sweeping powers on vague grounds. The bill lacks enforceable public participation mechanisms, no mandatory public hearings before licensing, no environmental impact assessment disclosure periods, no community consent mechanisms, no regular public reporting of safety inspections or radiation monitoring, no mandatory tabling in Parliament.
Kunalji, you have given 7 names.
Sir,
from your party, you have given 7 names. That's why I am requesting.
Sir, I'll conclude in 2.5, 3 minutes. सर मैं जो डिटेल बोल रहा हूँ सर सब कुछ जानना चाहिए, ये तो रिकॉर्ड में आना चाहिए सर। And finally, no mandatory tabling in Parliament of incident reports, internal or independent inquiry findings, and periodic safety reviews. In other words, you're excluding the very people whose lives and livelihoods are at stake. And the past controversies referred to by other speakers at Jaitapur, Kuramkulam, Gorakhpur demonstrate what happens when communities feel excluded from decisions affecting their safety. This bill risks repeating those conflicts, undermining capacity expansion targets through local resistance and litigation. Two more points, sir. Section 34B requires licenses, 35B, I beg your pardon, reserves spent fuel management for the central government, but again provides minimal implementation detail. When multiple private operators are generating significant spent fuel, unclear protocols will create operational uncertainty. The bill also lacks climate change provisions despite rising sea levels, extreme weather and water scarcity.
Thank you very much.
And post-Fukushima, sir, Japan comprehensively revised site selection for climate resilience. Our bill remains silent on that. I'll skip my other points. Let me give you one. Let me conclude, sir. Give me 1 minute to conclude. So I've taken up more than a minute.
Mr.
I'm pleading for time. Give me time.
There are 7 members of parliament from Congress party.
I'm skipping half my point, sir.
There is a time constraint. Please kindly conclude. Please kindly conclude.
Sir, beyond safety, okay,
Manish,
I won't talk about
15
safety anymore, sir.
minutes.
Fundamental questions arise about economic wisdom of this bill. Nuclear projects are highly capital intensive with long gestation periods in an era of rapidly falling renewable costs, battery storage costs. We must ask, does 19.3 trillion rupees towards nuclear represent optimal allocation versus accelerated renewable deployment, grid modernization or energy sufficiency? The opportunity cost must be gone into, sir. The Shanti bill represents a dangerous leap into privatized nuclear.
धन्यवाद सभापति महोदय। मैं एटॉमिक एनर्जी बिल 2025 शक्ति बिल के
We cannot allow the pursuit of capital to override the non-negotiable requirements of public safety, environmental protection, and victim justice. The name Shanti means peace, sustainability. Let us ensure that this name is not a cruel irony in the aftermath of a preventable disaster.
I think so.
The promise of transforming India ought not to conflate the risk of scarring India.
धन्यवाद सभापति महोदय। एटॉमिक एनर्जी बिल 2025 शक्ति बिल का मैं स्वागत करता हूं, वंदन करता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं। ये ऐतिहासिक बिल है। माननीय मंत्री जी ने अपनी शुरुआत में ही कहा था, आने वाली पीढ़ी याद रखेगी मोदी जी को कि ये बिल वो लाए थे। 2047 के विकसित भारत का जो अभियान है, यह मील का पत्थर साबित होगा। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में पिछले 11 वर्षों में परमाणु ऊर्जा में 70% की वृद्धि हुई है। न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी का उपयोग हमने जैसा पहले भी कहा है कि शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से प्रयोजन के लिए करते हैं तथा विकास के लिए करते हैं। अभी इस क्षेत्र में सिर्फ सरकारी पीयूसी है वही काम कर रही है। देश में तेजी से जिस प्रकार से विकास हो रहा है, उस मान से ऊर्जा की खपत को ध्यान में रखते हुए इसे प्राइवेट प्लेयर के लिए भी खोला जा रहा है। इस बिल में भारत की न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी को आत्मनिर्भर बनाने का बिल है और 2070 में जो नेट जीरो कार्बन उत्सर्जन की घोषणा हुई है, उस घोषणा में ये मील का पत्थर साबित होगा। माननीय सभापति महोदय, हम सभी जानते हैं कि वर्तमान में इससे 8.8 गीगावाट न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी का उत्पादन होना है और आने वाले 5 वर्ष में ये बढ़कर 23 गीगावाट होने जा रहा है। पर आने वाले विकसित भारत जो 2047 का विकसित भारत संकल्प है मोदी जी का, उसमें आवश्यकता है 100 गीगावाट एनर्जी की और इस लक्ष्य को पूरा करने के लिए मील का पत्थर रहेगा। अभी बिजली का उत्पादन प्रमुखता से कोयले से होता है और हमें मालूम है इसकी सीमा है कोयले की और कोयले से कार्बन उत्सर्जन भी ज़्यादा होता है। रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के लिए न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी सस्ती, स्वच्छ तथा कम एरिया में ज़्यादा उत्पादन करने, लो कास्ट प्रोडक्शन वाली ये एनर्जी है। तो न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी का उपयोग आज हर क्षेत्र में हम देख रहे हैं हो रहा है, चाहे कृषि हो, स्वास्थ्य हो, R&D हो, इंडस्ट्री हो, हर क्षेत्र में इसका उपयोग हो रहा है। जिस तेजी से मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन हो रहा है, डाटा सेंटर बढ़ रहे हैं, AI में काम हो रहा है, EV वाहनों में लगातार बढ़ोतरी हो रही है, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन में काम हो रहा है, डिजिटल इंडिया में काम हो रहा है, इन सब में आने वाले 2024-40 में बिजली की खपत लगभग डबल से ज़्यादा होने वाली है। आने वाले 2030 में डाटा सेंटर के लिए भी 10 गीगावाट की बिजली की आवश्यकता होगी। इन सबको ध्यान में रखते हुए बिल बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। इस बिल में डाटा सेंटर के लिए कंपनी को छोटे छोटे न्यूक्लियर पावर सेंटर अपने यहाँ बनाने की सुविधा रहेगी। स्मॉल मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टर से दुनिया में भारत डाटा और डिजिटल का हब स्थापित होने जा रहा है। सरकार ने छोटे छोटे मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टरों को R&D के लिए आगामी 5 वर्षों में जो प्रावधान किया है 20,000 करोड़ का प्रावधान किया है। सभापति महोदय, इस बिल को तैयार कर, ये बिल ऐसे ही तैयार नहीं हुआ है। इस बिल को तैयार करने के लिए पूरी होलिस्टिक अप्रोच अपनाई गई है और इस बिल के लिए अलग अलग मंत्रालयों से कंसर्न भी किया गया है। इस बिल के लिए नीति आयोग, विधि न्याय मंत्रालय, विदेश मंत्रालय और इसके साथ साथ परमाणु ऊर्जा आयोग, विद्युत मंत्रालय तथा अन्य मंत्रालयों से सहमति के बाद ये बिल लाया गया है। इस बिल की लाइसेंस की प्रक्रिया भी पूरी स्पष्ट दी हुई है बिल में। सेफ्टी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सेफ्टी के क्या क्या प्रिकॉशन होना चाहिए वो भी इस बिल में बताया गया है। पूरा डिटेल में इस बिल में दिया गया है। मेरे विपक्ष के साथी ने बिल पढ़ा नहीं है। रेगुलेटर बोर्ड भी बनाया जा रहा है जो जिसमें प्रावधान रहेगा हर बात का, और इंस्पेक्शन हो तथा इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो, सभी का इसमें प्रावधान किया गया है। यदि कोई न्यूक्लियर डैमेज होता है तो उसके लिए भी मुआवजा और बीमे की राशि इसमें रखी गई है। माननीय सभापति महोदय, न्यूक्लियर बिल को लेकर हमेशा दो बातें चर्चा में होती है। विपक्षी साथी भी कहते हैं कि इसमें एक रेडिएशन का प्रभाव रहता है और दूसरा वेस्ट का निष्पादन हम कैसे करेंगे। जहां तक रेडिएशन की बात करो, जो वैज्ञानिक हमें बता रहे हैं कि रेडिएशन की बात करो, ये रेडिएशन इसमें न्यूक्लियर क्षेत्र में इस पार्लियामेंट से भी कम होता है, ये उन्होंने कहा है। दूसरा, जहां तक वेस्ट डिस्पोजल की बात है, वेस्ट डिस्पोजल के लिए उन्होंने कहा है कि वेस्ट डिस्पोजल हम लेंगे और उसमें भी प्रोसेस करेंगे। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी कहते हैं कचरे से कंचन, तो ये उसका जो वेस्ट रहेगा उसमें भी प्रोसेस करके हम कमाएंगे। इस बिल के अंतर्गत परमाणु ऊर्जा नियामक परिषद का भी गठन किया जाएगा। इस परिषद के अधिकार व कर्तव्य इसमें स्पष्ट दिए हुए हैं। माननीय सभापति महोदय, वर्तमान में भारतीय परमाणु बीमा पुल जो परमाणु क्षति के लिए 2010 अधिनियम की तरफ से सिर्फ 1500 करोड़ की लायबिलिटी तय करता है, लेकिन इस बिल में न्यूक्लियर स्टेशन स्थापित करने वालों ऑपरेटरों के लिए विभिन्न लायबिलिटी क्लासिफाइड की गई है। अगर हम बात करें कोई 1200 मेगावाट से अधिक का रिएक्टर बनाता है तो 3000 की लायबिलिटी रहेगी। अगर कोई 500 मेगावाट का रिएक्टर बनाता है तो उसको 1500 करोड़ की लायबिलिटी रहेगी। 250 मेगावाट से अधिक का रिएक्टर कोई बनाता है तो 750 करोड़ की लायबिलिटी रहेगी। 50 मेगावाट से अधिक का अगर कोई रिएक्टर बनाता है तो 300 करोड़ की लायबिलिटी रहेगी और 50 मेगावाट तक अगर कोई रिएक्टर बनाता है तो 100 करोड़ की लायबिलिटी रहेगी। किसी भी अगर कोई विवाद होता है, उस विवाद को निपटने के लिए, निराकरण के लिए परमाणु न्याय प्राधिकरण का भी इसमें प्रावधान किया गया है और इसके बाद भी अगर वो संतुष्ट नहीं है तो हाईकोर्ट और सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी जा सकता है। न्यूक्लियर लायबिलिटी फंड का भी इसमें प्रावधान किया गया है, बीमे का भी प्रावधान किया गया है। माननीय सभापति, मुझे पुरानी सरकार में, इनकी सरकार में हमने देखा कि किस प्रकार इस क्षेत्र में दो प्रमुख बाधाएं थी। एक तो पूरा जो ये नियंत्रण था वो सरकार के पास था और दूसरा प्राइवेट प्लेयर इसमें कहीं नहीं आ रहा है, लेकिन अब इस बिल के प्रावधान में प्राइवेट प्लेयर भी आ सकते हैं। इस बिल में आने से बड़े पैमाने पर परमाणु क्षमता का विस्तार होगा, निजी निवेश आगे आएंगे, सुरक्षित और बेहतर रिएक्टर बनेंगे, स्मॉल मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टर बनेंगे जो डाटा सेंटर और AI के लिए आने वाले समय में आवश्यकता है। भारत इसमें आत्मनिर्भर बनेगा और जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का संकल्प है नेट 0 2070 में, उस लक्ष्य को हम पूरा करेंगे। अंत में सभापति महोदय ये कहना चाहूँगा कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में स्वच्छ भारत हो रहा है, उज्जवल भारत हो रहा है, आयुष्मान भारत हो रहा है, आत्मनिर्भर भारत हो रहा है, स्वदेशी भारत हो रहा है, शक्तिशाली भारत हो रहा है, स्वाभिमानी भारत हो रहा है, विकसित भारत हो रहा है, डिजिटल भारत हो रहा है। अब न्यूक्लियर भारत भी इस बिल के माध्यम से होगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं इस बिल का समर्थन करता हूँ।
श्री धैर्यशील माने जी
नहीं है, नहीं बैठे।
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय। आपने एक महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर मुझे अपनी बात रखने का मौका दिया है। मैं सर्वप्रथम इस विधेयक के लिए सरकार का अभिनंदन करना चाहूंगा कि ऊर्जा के डिपार्टमेंट में भारत को स्वयंपूर्ण बनाने का एक निर्णय इस देश की सरकार ले रही है और जिसके माध्यम से न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी का एक नया होराइजन अपने देश में आगे बढ़ने के लिए तैयार है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के कुशल नेतृत्व में इस दौड़ में बहुत गति के साथ भारत देश आगे बढ़ रहा है। 2047 में देश को विकसित भारत में अगर परिवर्तित करना है तो ऊर्जा के डिपार्टमेंट में हमें स्वयंपूर्ण होना पड़ेगा। और लाल किले से जो मोदी जी ने भाषण दिया था इस समय, उन्होंने कहा था कि भारत ऊर्जा के डिपार्टमेंट में स्वयंपूर्ण होने के लिए अब पहल करेगा और उसकी नींव रखने का काम इस माध्यम से हो रहा है। न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी का जो चर्चा हो रही है उसकी शुरुआत महाराष्ट्र से हुई थी। डॉक्टर होमी भाभा ने पहली बार ट्रॉम्बे में, पालघर जिले में न्यूक्लियर सेंटर ये शुरू किया। न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर की शुरुआत हुई और अप्सरा नामक पहला न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर जो देश में शुरुआत हुआ वो महाराष्ट्र से हुआ। महाराष्ट्र ने हमेशा ही वैज्ञानिक दृष्टिकोण और उसको नेतृत्व देने का काम किया है। इसलिए अब जब शांति बिल लाया गया है, इसका नाम भी बहुत रोचक है आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदय। अगर आपका सामर्थ्य है तो ही पड़ोसी आपके साथ शांति रखेंगे। आप एक न्यूक्लियर पावर नाम के माध्यम से आप दुनिया के पटल पे जब जाते हो तो 7th बिगेस्ट न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर हमारा देश का है। इसके वजह से आस पड़ोस के देशों की तरफ आप देखो तो उनकी अवस्था क्या है, लेकिन तिरछी नजर से देखने वालों को भी न्यूक्लियर पावर से डरना पड़ता है। और इसका शुरुआत अगर किसी ने की होगी तो श्रद्धेय अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने की और उनके माध्यम से इस देश को एक नए आयाम पर ले जाने का काम तब टाइम में हुआ। तब भी ये कहा जाता था कि न्यूक्लियर पावर की जरूरत भारत को क्या है, लेकिन अटल जी ने अटल निश्चय से ये साबित कर दिया कि आने वाला भविष्य एनर्जी का होने वाला है और एनर्जी को अगर हम न्यूक्लियर पावर से ले पाए तो निश्चित रूप से जो पारंपरिक ऊर्जा होती थी उससे बचत करते हुए उन्होंने एक नया आयाम रखा। तब भी विपक्ष के लोग कहा करते थे कि भारत न्यूक्लियर की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि आज भारत एक नए विपक्ष के लोग तभी नहीं, आज मैं आपसे
आप उनकी बात करो, कृपया बैठे बैठे आप किसी कोई बोलना।
और ये कांग्रेस का तब का कहना था कि न्यूक्लियर पावर की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन अटल जी के विश्वास ने लोगों को के सामने एक उदाहरण रखा और अमेरिका जैसी देश भी तब इसका विरोध कर रहे थे, लेकिन भारत ने अपना लोहा मनाया और निश्चित रूप से अटल जी के वजह से आज देश एक नए आयाम पे, ऊंचाई पे जा रहा है। मैं कुछ प्रावधान जो यहाँ है न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी के बारे में, वो मैं आपके सामने मद्देनजर रखना चाहूंगा। कुछ क्लॉजेस नए इसमें ऐड किए गए हैं। कड़ा लाइसेंस तंत्र इसमें इस्तेमाल किया गया है, जिसके माध्यम से क्लॉज 3 और 4 के माध्यम से विपक्ष डर फैला रहा है कि प्राइवेट लोग आएंगे तो सुरक्षा खतरे में पड़ जाएगी, लेकिन क्लॉज 3 ये स्पष्ट करता है बिना सरकार के लाइसेंस और सेफ्टी ऑथराइजेशन के कोई भी इसमें काम नहीं कर पाएगा। इसका क्लॉज 3 में प्रावधान किया गया है। इसका फोकस SMRs पर भी है। स्मॉल मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टर्स देश में बनने चाहिए, इसके लिए इसकी योजना बनाई जा रही है। ये मोबाइल फोन की तरह छोटे छोटे पोर्टेबल होंगे, जिनके वजह से युवाओं को न्यूक्लियर वैज्ञानिक बनने में एक नया मौका बन जाएगा। क्लॉज 4 की तरह की वजह से रेडियो एक्टिव पदार्थों की सुरक्षा, सिक्योरिटी ऑफ रेडियो एक्टिव मटेरियल के लिए सरकार ने विशेष शक्तियों अपने पास रखी है। संवेदनशील गतिविधियों, सेंसिटिव एक्टिविटीज केवल केंद्र सरकार के नियंत्रण में होगी। यानी इनोवेशन प्राइवेट हो सकता है, लेकिन कंट्रोल यह सरकार का ही रहेगा। निश्चित रूप से सरकार सुरक्षा कवच के रूप से इसमें देख रही है। क्लॉज 14 लायबिलिटी जो है, यह प्रावधान जनता के विश्वास के लिए सबसे जरूरी है। क्लॉज 14 में सरकार जिम्मेदारी ले रही है। परमाणु दुर्घटना अगर कोई हो तो उसकी सारी जिम्मेदारी केंद्र सरकार की होगी। यह निश्चय के साथ सरकार इसके लिए आगे बढ़ रही है। इसके लिए न्यूक्लियर लायबिलिटी फंड भी अलग से बनाया जा रहा है। लोगों को सस्ती बिजली चाहिए सर, और अगर थर्मल एनर्जी हो या अदर रिसोर्सेस है, उससे सस्ती बिजली अगर हमें देनी है तो हमें न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी को यूटिलाइज करना, उसको उसका प्रावधान करना बहुत जरूरी हो गया है। सस्ती बिजली की गारंटी देने के लिए आम आदमी का सवाल यही रहता है। क्लॉज 37 में सरकार ये अधिकार अपने पास रखती है कि परमाणु बिजली के टैरिफ का जो नियंत्रण है वो सरकार ही निश्चित करेगी। इसमें ईंधन की लागत हो, कचरे का प्रबंध, वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट हो का खर्चा हो, जोड़कर इसकी जो लागत है उसके बाद ईज ऑफ लिविंग के लिए इसका एक हिस्सा निश्चित रूप से सरकार करने का प्रावधान कर रही है। विवाद निवारण और नियामक क्लॉज 54, 57 और स्टैट्यूटरी स्टेटस AERB को तथा एक हमारा रेगुलेटरी AERB केवल एक बोर्ड था, अब उसे कानून के तहत वैधानिक दर्जा स्टैट्यूटरी स्टेटस देने का प्रावधान है, मिल रहा है। वह अब सख्ती से काम कर पाएगा। निश्चित रूप से ये सारे प्रावधान जो बनाए हैं ये सरकार ने अच्छी योजना के तहत बनाया हुआ है। इलेक्ट्रिसिटी